Welcome to another episode of Scoundrels, the Inc. We're covering Andor Episode 8, Narkina 5. Narkina 5.
Was that the name of the episode?
Narkina 5 was the name of the episode, Sean.
What happened to the other four?
We are going to break it down, and this is your first time here watching us.
I'm sorry, I can't be on the show. I was studying for Narkina 4.
Okay.
So.
Well, we'll get to that. If this is your first time joining us, please hit that subscribe button. Help us out a lot. And, well, let's get into it. What do you got? What do you got?
Well, before you go, before we do start the show, I just wanted to say Happy Halloween to you scoundrels. I got one for you.
That's a big cup. It says
I got a big cup for you, and this
potato chips.
This guy's on a diet, so I can't give him any more. There's potato chips in it. What?
Potato chips, big. What is this abomination?
I thought I got. I literally thought I got you. It just said big cup. Is it both say? Is yours say it too?
Yeah,
it's big cup, but it has potato chips.
I would never get you guys a candy.
I don't know. I'm kind of excited. I gotta know.
I would never get
this.
Let me just say something. I've never been in like the candy that tastes like jalapenos and all crap. I would never give someone candy that had potato chip fragments in it. This is just me rushing, trying to get here.
Which is also to say he does not care.
Personally, I do care. I spent a lot of time in the aisle.
After we had a buffalo chicken meat sticks last week.
Yeah.
I think every week we got to try something new.
Well, I feel like I failed because I gave him Reese's Pieces with potato chips, and I got him a Red Bull, and he's like, "Oh, I only drink sugarless." This supermodel over here.
You're drinking it anyway.
This Maxim model.
I'm drinking it anyway.
All right, good.
Yeah,
just put it right where his. Yeah, there it is.
You go.
Right there in between the legs. Why are you touching him down there?
It's not even attached to him.
Hey, so 17 skeletons, Frank.
17 skeletons, but in this episode, I don't know that we saw many, but there's definitely going to be a few. I feel like happening on Ferrix, in the prison, Mon Mothma. There's a lot of we touched on a lot of storylines again this week, like we did in last week's episode, and we start off with Cassian getting transported to Narkina 5, the prison. This, I don't know about you guys, but my initial, I guess, thoughts on this was it's very much an homage to THX 1138.
Yeah.
Just the whole aesthetic, the uniforms, the white walls, even like some of the camera work was very reminiscent of some shots from THX.
You're saying that.
Yeah.
I'm remembering the trailer for this before, and I'm pretty sure I specifically remember a shot and saying it looks like THX 1134, and it
38.
What did I say?
You said 34.
38.
THX 34 is the prequel that never got off the ground. He was waiting for the technology in order to do it.
So THX 1138, there's a shot of spoilers from the trailer. Actually, I won't say what's happening in the shot. There's a shot of the prisoners in the tube, that tunnel tube.
Yeah.
From the trailer, and I remember going, that looks like THX 1138.
Oh, yeah. I think some people were pointing that out too. Yeah. But this, like, right off the bat when they enter
100%.
I was feeling Logan's Run a little bit too, and The Island, which is a Michael Bay movie, right?
Is that
with Obi-Wan?
I was gonna say Ewan's in that.
ScarJo.
Yeah, I had that good vibes too, and I love a good prison movie. I've loved I love Shawshank Redemption. I even love the Prison Break show.
Have you ever thought about going to prison?
No,
breaking out yourself?
That would be terrible.
Okay.
Yeah. So prison movies do their job and they keep me out of there, but. So watching this episode, I mean, as far as it was like a prison movie. It's just everything that I love. Star Wars and prison, come on.
Yeah, it's right up Kevin's alley. Also, the way that they...
Prison is right up my alley.
You know what? Never mind.
Yeah,
there's more jokes there that we will just not get into.
Save it for a later episode.
Yeah. Also, when Cassian's brought to... was it the fifth floor, the seventh room, or the
fifth floor, seventh room? No, seventh floor, seventh floor, seventh table. He's the
it was all
person.
sevens. Yeah. Another THX reference, but basically, it's kind of like Squid Games in there, right? Where everyone's competing against each other, except for Andy Serkis.
Which, did any of us know? None of us knew Andy Serkis.
Did anyone know? That was my question.
No, I don't think
when
so.
It happened, I was like, "Wait, what?" Like, I don't remember seeing anything about Serkis.
I want to know. Here's what I want to know.
Kino Loy is his name.
How does he get from?
It's not Kino Loy. His name.
Yeah,
it's Snoke.
So how does he get?
Don't.
Kevin.
It's Snoke.
How does Kino get from this Outer Rim prison to the unknown regions? And then eventually Exegol.
See, I was really listening. I'm like, what are you talking about? And then you said what you said, and I was like, I don't even want to acknowledge this absurdity that just because the actor who voiced Snoke is automatically somehow some early version, clone version of Snoke, which, by the way, we know what an early clone version of Snoke or Palpatine would be like because we saw that in Rise of Skywalker.
You're going to apologize to me when they're escaping and a big thing slashes his face. And then that's how he gets the scar on his forehead. And you'll be like, oh my God, Kevin, you're right. He's Snoke.
I don't know. Like, I don't know who started this, but it's absolutely absurd.
Whoever started it is a genius.
Yeah. Well, no. Okay.
I just hope it's dumb.
I'm telling you now. Here's how the last episode of the season is going to go. Okay.
Oh, no.
Jar Jar's going to show up.
Yeah, absolutely.
Break Kino Loy out.
Yeah. Misa here to free you.
And say, Yusa failed me. And slash him across the forehead.
And that's Jar Jar gives him the...
What are you doing over there?
I'm just making...
Looks like your arm's like doing something off screen.
No, I'm playing with this. There's a skeleton here.
17, Frank.
17. 7.
17 skeletons.
Yeah.
So, anyway, Snoke is, he kind of takes
no
over that
knows
prison
what
leader.
You're talking about.
No one.
You do.
Yeah, but
that's
what fun is that for everybody else?
So Snoke takes over as this kind of, pseudo leader in the prison. Continue.
I'm like, Snoke is not in this episode.
We're calling him Snoke.
Just
dumb.
Why would it?
Well, hold on, Frank.
Why wouldn't he be force sensitive at the very least, zapping people?
Well, how do you think the floor's electrified?
Yeah. Come on, man.
It's the button. It's the button.
You need to get that shirt that says your Snoke theory sucks.
Oh, do you think the guard hits the button and then Andy Serkis is like, oh, wait a minute. You need some electricity over there.
Andy's pager goes off.
And he's got a pager.
Yeah.
He sounds exactly the same, so it's got to be the same guy.
He sounds the same.
I just can't
Serkis can do so many different voices, and he does practically the same voice as Snoke. I think not.
There's another theory, though. He could be Caesar from the Planet of the Apes.
Right.
So, like his descendant.
Yeah.
This is descending into madness. I'll let you continue.
Okay, no. But so in all seriousness, if you take the letters of his name, it is a anagram.
I just don't
for Snoke.
I just can't.
That was such a good setup. It was you thought we were done and we were responsibly should be moving on, and you did it. You went right there and you kept going, and that's what's great about it.
Okay, so Cassian's in this prison where Snoke is nowhere to be found, and
with Melshi,
that was a cool surprise. That's a cool surprise. Now, I didn't catch it right away because I didn't have the captions on, and they were like really.
I did. Serkis
focusing in
someone
on him.
calls him Melshi.
Right away.
Yeah.
And can I tell you why you probably know it too? Obviously, from our days in the Schmodown. That was something that I probably needlessly studied, but he would definitely need to know it in the Star Wars division. And so when they said Melshi, I was like, oh. And then because I paid attention to who Melshi was in my studying or whatever for it, all of a sudden, when I would watch Rogue One and subsequent viewings, he would be singled out, and it would be so cool because I'm like, man, he's kind of a badass. And then he goes out a badass, heroically.
He's in a lot of the movie. He's in like Cassian's personal squad.
Yeah. Which is just so cool how this is going to increase Rogue One's viewing. When you see it now, you're going to recognize him. And it's like you just created almost like a main character to be a side character coming. You know what I mean?
Well, it's like he's the wedge of.
Yeah.
Sure.
Like so, and it reminds me a lot of when we see Wedge in Rebels.
Yeah,
like in kind of the same way.
I thought you were going to say Rise of Skywalker, which was kind of a little.
No, that one's a.
You blink, you miss shot.
Yeah.
So
one day we'll do an episode on my thoughts on Wedge Antilles, Snap Wexley, and how they were done dirty.
Man, that is very. Oh,
just don't search that on the internet. You might get a different set of results.
Yeah. So
step.
Don't even. You can't. You messed it up.
It is his stepfather.
You messed it up. I mean, yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, you didn't know Wedge is Snap's stepdad?
That's true.
From the novels, from Aftermath.
Yeah,
and all that?
in the
Or are you talking about in the actors? Because isn't he Ewan McGregor's?
No, he's Ewan's.
Ewan's.
Yeah.
Ewan. Is it Ewan or Ewan?
It's Ewan.
Yeah. Okay.
He's his nephew.
Gotcha. Yeah.
Dennis Lawson's nephew.
Small world in a galaxy far away.
But Wedge is Snap's. Wedge shacks up with Snap's mom.
This is a truth fact. For now, unless Filoni gets his hands on it,
I
then no one knows what he'll do with it.
What happened to the Wedge's real father? Now I want to go down this rabbit hole.
This is a show about Andor.
Snap's real father.
I know. Frank is collectively losing his crap right now.
Snap's real father dies fighting for the rebellion. Nora Wexley flies the Y-wing.
Yeah, I remember that from the comics.
Yeah.
And
no, that's Shara Bay.
Oh, I'm thinking of Poe Dameron's.
You're thinking of Shara Bay. Yeah.
Yeah. Continue. Stop letting us get you off track, Frank. Come on.
Sean.
Hey.
Talk to me about what you thought about this prison.
Okay, so I love the dystopian, very cyberpunk, very
the music.
Well, all the music as well, but
synthesizer music.
Just the vibe. The vibe very much reminds me of. I just finished playing Cyberpunk 77. I've been watching the Cyberpunk show on Netflix. I just rewatched Blade Runner. Like I've been kind of like.
You're cyberpunking out right now.
That genre very much appeals to me, and this so much fits that like corpo aesthetic. It reminds me of Ready Player One more in the books than the show, where the IOI, the people that are in debt to IOI have to go work for IOI. And like they work in these little pods and they can't leave. Did you write that?
I wrote, reminded me of Ready Player One with Artemis's father.
Look at that.
Yeah.
Look at that.
Yeah. So it reminds me of the way they describe IOI in the books. They're like stuck in these little cells. They got the helmets on. They can't move. Everything's fed by a tube. It's great.
And they can't basically.
It's unlimited food, like
unlimited food,
as much as you want. The guy says,
but it doesn't taste like it.
The concept,
unless you win.
The concept of debt, if anybody, which I struggled with when I was younger, I got out of it. But when you deal with credit card debt or anything like that, and you have this mountain that you're trying to get out of, and you can't get over the continued interest, and you finally climb out of it, and it's just like you're on top of Everest. But when you're in the thick of it, and I think a lot of people could relate, it's really hard. So in Ready Player One, like the father, it's described basically that Artemis's father is trying to work it off, but they just keep adding interest to it. So he could work for 500 years. He's never going to pay it off, so he'll never be free of his prison. Right. And it was very similar to that, where it's the kind of still the thing. Like they might add on to. I was surprised he didn't wake up and his debt was larger.
I thought that's
I don't think it's. So I had a question about that because it said they didn't call it a debt. They call it his
tab.
Right. But that might not have been the amount of credits he owed, but the number of days he had to serve.
I'm guessing that's what it was.
And that was my impression, but
because they do the 30 days later, 30 shifts later, and you see the number drop by 30.
Yeah.
But you would have been,
which is 30 days.
But it would have been crazy if he wakes up and you see it, and then the number adds.
Or it just didn't change.
But I think that was on purpose, that they called it a tab, and they showed it the way they did. They showed it in a number of days and not like X years, X months, X days.
Yeah.
Right? Because I think that they are trying to get that same feeling across. It's a very typical thing in dystopian literature that, like, hey, when you're in prison, you end up owing the prison system, right?
Yeah, it's crazy.
It's also kind of a thing in real life. But
which is also going back to Kino Loy. He's like, I have 249 days, whatever, left with my time here, and he's like, do not mess this up for me.
Up for me.
Yeah, don't mess this up for me, because I'm on my way out, and I live. All things considered, I guess he probably lives a lot cozier, or has more. Well, he doesn't live cozier because he's in that cell block with them.
He's in the same cell. Yeah.
It would be interesting to see. I don't think I'm
trying to understand what benefit does he get.
Well, he's not working the he's not working.
He's not working the table, sure.
And he's probably get time off his sentence the better he does. But what would be interesting if it was a novel or something where you spend a lot of time. It would be interesting to see from his perspective if it's like his last day and they're like, oh, no, actually, you have another 6 years now. Like,
well, the fact of the matter is...
That feeling of overwhelming you can never get out of.
The other fact is, if he is so good at his job, the Empire won't want to lose him.
Do you think that he's going to... I'm sure there's going to be a prison escape now. Do you think he will be part of it or try to quell it?
I think he dies in the prison escape.
Yeah.
Helping?
Oh, I think there's a specific...
I think he's going to try to...
He's not making it out. He's not going to finish this.
I don't think he's going to try to help people get out because why would he? He's got like no time left.
Or maybe you think that and then
because they mentioned
then he doesn't have to live on the run. Then he doesn't have to whatever.
Yeah. They mention they make it a point, be like, I have this many days left. Mm-hmm. When someone says I have this many days left, I think we all know
it's like the same thing as showing your kids during war.
It's just like, okay, well, you're going to get to day like 10, and boom. Like if you ever watched The Great Escape.
It's the same thing. It's near the end.
It's like someone was like, he just loses it, and he had like 2 weeks left. He just, stuff like that.
I remember that. Yeah,
something like that.
Here's a question.
Yeah.
What are they building? Are they building Death Star parts, which is ironic?
No.
They are building Death Star parts.
Okay, sure.
What
Snoke
part is it?
Is leading. What part is it?
What part can it? You know how big the Death Star is? It's the size of a moon. Come on, it could be anything. It could be it could be a screw for the freaking backside of the super laser crystal holder.
It almost
device.
looks like some sort of like.
Now I was led to believe there were contractors on the Death Star. Those don't look like contractors.
It looks like
slave labor for the parts.
It articulates in some way, shape, or form.
It looks like tax for.
It looks
I
like,
wasn't born in the 50s, but the tax.
You know what would be really interesting if it was just like
Jax.
It would be really
called Jax.
Jax. That it looks like Jax.
Yeah, Jax for Giants.
They use
Snoke's giant on the hologram. He's giant.
How do you think those got on the beach in Normandy?
See,
right.
I'm telling you, I think it's Death Star parts because even in the timeline, the Death Star was always full of delays, and so it's constantly being built. And it could just be parts for the Death Star. You need those to screw in the giant plates.
Whatever it is, it's something that articulates.
But why is it? What? Okay, let me ask you this: why does it matter what they're building?
It does. Absolutely,
it does not at all matter.
Why does it matter? Why, Kevin? Why does it matter?
Snoke's in charge, and so
all right, John. Why does it not matter? Why does it not matter?
It doesn't matter
because conceptually, in this type of story, it doesn't matter.
No.
And it doesn't even matter if they.
It's about because what is it? It's displaying kind of how they have all been turned into drones, basically.
Yes.
Well, look at Cassian's face. First of all, when he gets to the prison, he looks literally in shock. He just doesn't know what's happening. Oh yeah, he's fantastic in this episode, and he didn't say a whole lot. It was just all on his on his face. And there was a scene or a shot where it's the camera's kind of zooming in on him. It's like a far out that comes back into his face, and you just see him just trying to process how the hell did I get here? How the hell am I in?
And it's his own fault. He's realizing he should have. Yeah. But here to answer your question, why it could be parts of the Death Star, why it wouldn't be the worst thing.
But go ahead.
The irony that he's responsible and dies doing so, destroying the Death Star, and that in his lowest moment he's building parts for the Death Star with Melshi. I just thought it was an interesting theory.
To throw that back at you, right?
I believe more in the Snoke theory.
So I'm with you. To throw that back at you, it being a nothing part, right? It's some random component for a convex transport or for
I know the reference.
Whatever, right? Like it's got to be something so inconsequential, or like landing gear for a fucking Imperial bus, right?
Yeah.
Like the more inconsequential it is, the less that job is worth from the perspective of the people working it. In this sort of dystopian fiction, you want it to be a nothing part, right? You want it to be something that is so demeaning that he spends 12 hours of every day.
It's brutal.
Doing, building that part that ultimately doesn't matter, right? If he's spending 12 hours of every day building Death Star parts, that's a big, massive Imperial icon, right? The less important the part is, the more demeaning the job is.
Yeah.
And also it's not important too because even in their
Brandon, why don't you chime in on this one?
He's got nothing.
Okay. He hasn't done any impersonations or anything. He even in the editing though, they don't, they build up to this are they going to finish in first place at the end? I know I'm jumping to the end, but to go to your point of it doesn't matter what they're building, it doesn't even matter what place they finish because they pull a Sopranos and they cut before you even see what happens.
Yeah.
So we don't know if they finished first or last.
Well,
or
I'm wondering.
No, they
because it doesn't matter.
In that first go,
we find out. Yeah,
we know they finished. We know they finished last.
We don't even see that zap though.
We do miss the punishment. Yeah.
No, why do you want to see the zap?
I don't know. It's I'm watching it at midnight because I do. And I'm half asleep, and then I'm like, wait a second, and I rewind it, thinking did I fall asleep and I missed the second zap? I want to see him suffer.
We don't need
again.
to see everything.
You do.
Nothing gets Kevin off like seeing a man get electrocuted.
Yeah, I love it. That's why I love prison.
Wait,
I don't got nothing.
The thing that it also we kind of talked about it early, or you brought it up, the potential of a prison break, which there's probably going to be a ride due to the trailers and all that. He sees one of his co-workers, if you will. I think his name is Taga. He's doing sign language across the way from, and he's sign language with another inmate. And
I saw that.
You have to wonder, what kind of message? What are they talking about? What are they planning something?
I think I know what he's talking about.
What are they? he doesn't know what he's doing anymore.
I wonder. Yeah, I saw the same thing. I'm curious what. I think, but I like that we're not in on it. I like that Cassian's not in on it, and we're not.
No, we're following from Cassian's perspective.
Observer, yeah.
He's looking at it. He's seeing there's something going on.
And he's not leading it. He's going to probably get wrapped up in it.
It does sort of lend to the theme of like there is this sort of covert communication system throughout the prison. When we first see Cassian get into the bunks, we do see people saying like, "Don't pay attention to the number." That's Melshi. Oh, you're in for nothing.
Melshi, yeah.
And Melshi goes on this big speech about how that's what the Empire does. That's what the Empire wants. They want it to be meaningless. They want you to be worth nothing. So it is setting up the seeds for rebellion, and they're asking him about the
POD or something. I forget the name of it. It's like the new act, the new order.
Mm-hmm.
Ordinance.
Order 68.
Republic. Depot. Ord Mantell. Pord Mantell.
It's the public order.
We do our research here for Scoundrels.
Oh, what was it? I was trying to remember off the top of my head.
While he looks it up, let me bring up something.
I will say I'm shocked that we have Pords this early because I want to know how they got from here to Octo.
I knew it. Dad joke.
Great joke.
What I was going to say is,
do you think order resentencing directive?
Do you think that Tarantino liked this episode because of the bare feet? And I also want to know is if this is the first ever Star Wars content live action where we see bare feet. I was trying to think because Leia has boots with her slave Leia outfit. It's the first feet. Cassian Andor is the first set of toes we ever see, unless you're thinking of like Wookiee toes or
No, you actually don't see the Wookiee toes.
Well, the hair covers it.
You see Ewok toes though.
Ewok toes, and I think you see
Gungan toes.
Yep. Wow.
So yeah. So Tarantino's probably all into this episode.
A Star Wars first.
Yeah.
Toes.
Yeah. Serial Star Wars first and toes.
You can look them up on Wookiee feet.
That's funny.
That's funny.
And unfortunately, that's probably a thing. It's probably a thing.
Freaking now it is.
All right, so
Pords.
Yeah, Pords. They were asking him about.
Okay, here's my question: do you think Cassian was playing dumb and pretending not to know what that was?
Absolutely, because he sees how pissed off all these people are. Why would he be like, "Oh yeah, I was on Eldon. I did that."
Right.
First of all, I'm gonna get my ass beat. Second of all, someone's probably reported to another Imperial to gain favor. Now I'm in deeper crap.
Right, but he didn't have to. He didn't have to say, "Oh yeah, I don't know anything about it." He could have said, "Yeah, that's why I'm in here." That's why I'm in here for 6 years. Is the Pord?
Well, he's not in there because of the Eldani.
Well, but he's in there for 6 years instead of 6 months because of the order.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, they go off to say, we didn't do anything, and they just doubled our sentence overnight. And yeah, Cassian is directly responsible for that because of his actions on Eldani and how the Empire responded to it. So of course he's not going to be like, "Oh yeah, my bad, guys. Didn't know they were going to do that."
Someone does bring up Eldani, right?
Because they've all heard about the Eldani. Because it's been a month later now.
Yeah, and essentially when anyone comes in, they're grilling that other person for like, "Oh, what's happening?"
Mm-hmm. But also, I don't think Cassian. I think they were right when he's like, "Oh, he doesn't know what we're talking about, the public reordering resentencing directive."
Right.
I don't think he would know about that because he's trying to. At that point, when he went to Niamos, he was just trying to be off the grid.
He was just on a bender.
He was on a bender for one. And so I don't think he even heard about that. So, but nonetheless, he wouldn't be like, "Yeah, I know what happened." And because if he knows stuff, I mean, depending on what you know, like, from your prison shows, if you know certain things, that can either be beneficial or hurtful.
Yeah, very bad.
So I think and he's been in juvenile correctional facilities before, so
he knows how to play the game.
I think he knows how to, exactly. I think he knows
probably from when he attacked Stormtrooper after Clem died.
Exactly.
Hey, so the music this episode, Frank?
Yeah. So right off the bat, this music, especially when we're with Cassian inside the prison, every time we cut back to it, it's just super synthy and Blade Runner-y, cyberpunky, and it's such an interesting way to, I guess, immerse you in this cold, sterile environment.
Just very atmospheric.
Yeah,
very,
and it I think it also really resembles how Diego Luna played all his scenes where he wasn't talking and just purely reacting and absorbing everything. It was just, I feel like that music was very much giving us, without words, kind of like his mindset of like, I'm in a dystopian, hellish place that fair, I cannot escape.
I think Diego has played most scenes like that, unless it's with someone that he's very close to, like Mavra or Bix. Like most scenes he has, he's kind of just playing the observer, and then he'll jut in
when he's got something to say.
And usually he'll jut in pretty aggressively. It's building up an interesting character for him where he keeps quiet until he hits this breaking point, and once he's at the breaking point, he's like, "Wait, no, I have to tell you about whatever." Or I have to give you my opinion on this, or what about him?
Or it's not as it seems, something like that,
Yeah.
Do we have any other thoughts on the prison stuff with Cassian?
I thought Circus was great.
Yeah.
Personally, I think.
Yeah, he does a great.
And
Snoke.
I almost, assuming Frank's right. And it's not Snoke.
Yeah,
it's a real stretch, guys, but I feel pretty confident.
I wish they would have. I almost wish we wouldn't have gotten him in this role because it minimizes the. We don't get to see him in something else because he's so good.
I mean, true, but also you put him in any other thing. I think then the Snoke theories are just even more through the roof.
Yeah, that's fair.
So to put him in prison,
that's fair. They want to keep the Snoke ties just for the diehards, like Kevin
also like why would Palpatine and whoever else or like his cloning operation be like, oh yeah, that one's off in jail, or like they wouldn't know what happened.
Well, he's not. He won't
like,
but he won't be in jail for most of the Galactic Civil War.
I mean, so he says. So he says.
Right. He's only got 200 days left.
Something like that. Right. So, anyways, that's neither here nor there because Snoke does not. Anyways, Kevin, any final words on the prison with Cassian?
Shout out to the uniforms too, kind of matching the same color style as the prison uniforms in an episode of Rebels on Lothal. It's probably just coincidence, but I guess there's no coincidence in
standard
Star Wars.
Imperial issue,
but this
prisoner garb.
Definitely, the overall feeling of hopelessness is really brought forth, and it really felt like this episode. It's always cliche to say, but it felt like the Empire Strikes Back of the show. Like this is like as low as you can get. And I mean, what a creative way about like showing, there's so many different ways you can keep people in their cells and keep people in line. And we're talking about how the guy jumps off and just kills himself in the middle of the night.
We actually didn't talk about that.
Yeah, I'm saying talking about it now. It's just showing that hopelessness and just showing how literally dangerous it is. At first, I didn't understand it, like, because he pressed the button. I'm like, oh, did they have, like, things implanted?
I thought maybe they injected them with something.
Right, and that would have been fine, but cliche, right? And so when you find out, no, it's like playing, like, the floor is lava game show or whatever.
Well,
it's absolutely just creative, and you really are curious, how are they going to hack this? Are they going to steal people's boots?
Right.
And they have the boots. It's so brazen. Well, they have the boots right there, and they walk by. It's such
they show you when they... when Cassian's being brought into processing. And it was so funny to me how no one gave a shit about him being processed.
Yeah,
right?
They don't care.
Like, they didn't care. They weren't really worried about it. And
because they don't have to see him again after that.
They don't interact. It's such an interest. Like,
and the acting too. The last thing I'll say is with him. You're talking about how you're in his head. I don't know if you guys ever saw The Walking Dead or were fans of it, but the episode where Negan is the first episode where everybody's lined up and he's playing with everybody's emotions with the bat and he ends up killing people, spoiler alert. But if you notice that whole thing, they just show Rick and he's just so powerless. Like, and the acting, it's just like this is the group that he cares for and takes care of and he can't do anything. And it just shows of him. He literally is like almost in shock. And that's what Diego Luna's acting there reminded me the same thing where he's in shock. And then when you find out, like, he's probably broken out of prisons before, is confident he can do something, like any swashbuckling dude would. And then he just like ground, like just like he's realizing there's nothing you can do. Yeah. So it's a very overwhelming like sense of dread. And that's the reason why at the end of the episode, I was like, okay, I'll watch all of the Tales of the Jedi at 2 a.m. because I need, like, I was like, otherwise I'm going to sleep and just be worried about him the whole time. So,
there's a Twitter account I follow that
at Kev Smets.
No, they retweeted a really good this TikTok video of a guy jumping from.
Wasn't that me?
That
was me as Scoundrels Inc. That was my first ever tweet as Scoundrels Inc. Was it a success?
Well, Kevin, I was going to segue into a great. Don't forget to follow Scoundrels Inc. on Twitter and Instagram. But instead, you gotta.
It's underscore
once again burn the.
Did I kill it? Huh. But yeah, the lava jumping thing.
Yeah, that was good. Yeah. That was good.
So
solid first tweet.
as this
Syril.
Yeah, I was gonna say as this episode as the episode opens, going back from Cassian to Cyril to Dedra, we're kind of going back and forth to all three of them. And
as
really,
an editor, the intercutting too is definitely by design. You see. Cassian in his depths with then the high life of, oh, do you ever look out the window? Oh, I should look out the window more.
Before
and
that,
then,
the first cut though is we're with Cassian to open up the episode, and it goes from Cassian in this prison getting processed to Cyril sitting at his desk amongst all the other. Basically, they're two different kinds of prisoners, right? So that's kind of what they were, at least how I took it as they.
And going later ahead, you could almost think that Saw is a prisoner of his own beliefs, and that's why he's stuck in caves and not joining with other people.
Yeah, what is
there's
it
a
that,
lot of jumping later, but
what
I'm just
is
saying.
It that Donnie Yen says?
Oh yeah,
not all cages are.
Yeah, I missed that question against Chunder. Shout out to Chunder, who's a listener. I missed that against you, buddy.
What's the quote?
It's like not all prisons are cage. Well, I didn't know I missed it, so why?
Yeah,
I
can't.
I'm retired.
Relearned it.
I'm retired, but yeah, shout out you, Chunder.
Well, you can look it up.
You know what? If you know the quote, put it in the comments down below.
But yeah, it's about not all prisons have cages. Basically, talking about that you could be your own self. It's holding you back.
Which is interesting. You bring that up because Marva in the previous episode she goes, "I'm free in my mind.
Yeah,
in my mind, I'm free,
dude.
Where
goosebumps.
Where Saw is a prisoner in his own mind. Look at Brandon.
I got
Say
goosebumps.
something, huh?
I feel like he's upset with us. He's not.
Can you
Yeah.
cut in like Brandon doing a quote?
No,
That would be cheesy.
yeah.
But way to ruin it.
So
Just like I
Cyril gets
ruined
taken
the
to
Twitter.
this room where Dedra comes in and talks to him. He's like, I'm going over this Ferrix report. What's not in here? What can you tell me that Blevin didn't cover? And basically, he's just like, I don't know. I never saw it. And she's like, well, you signed it. I'm like, well, I had no choice. And she takes that in with a bit of curiosity, which I felt like they did on purpose to be like, and it's not to say that she's going to flip on the Empire,
right?
But just that maybe, of course, Blevin would, blow over this and not take the time, to do the right job.
Blevin Smets is his full name, by the way. It's weird.
Yeah,
that's unfortunate.
Yeah.
But so this, and I think a couple weeks ago I was predicting a Cyril, Dedra
face turn or a romance.
No, team up basically.
I think I predicted that.
No, I did.
I did not.
You might have.
Why don't we go back to the clip?
Yeah, we'll go back to the clip.
Run the clip.
It's actually a short.
Wait, but you edit the clips.
Yeah.
You could have edited it to make it look like you said it.
I might have done that. I don't know. All I know is I came up with it first on the show. Anyways, I think we had two different ideas of how they would team up. Actually, I think that was
that's
different.
fair. I still think he's going to get burned in the end, and I think this episode supports that.
Yeah, probably. I think.
What's with his smile?
That's what I think that smile at the end of his interaction with Dedra, I think he was like, yeah, I figured out that they need Cassian to get to this other dude, Axis, which is a.k.a. Luthen, because that's what Dedra's after at this point. And
is Luthen Fulcrum?
Luthen is not a Fulcrum. I don't think so.
You don't think he's a Fulcrum?
I don't think he's a Fulcrum, no.
Do you think he's the proto-Fulcrum, though?
Possibly. Because this is going to the Luthen stuff now, but what Clea is like, we don't talk to anybody right now. We're right. Like zero.
We shut ourselves off. We're doing our own thing.
We got to lay low because of this Aldani stuff, and we got to be careful about what we're sending out and receiving and whatnot. And we'll get to that part. But with this scene though, with Cyril trying to proclaim that he is a worthwhile asset to Dedra, saying, I was a good deputy inspector. Well, I don't even know if it was desperation as more of it was.
He was trying to sell himself.
Yeah, he
was trying to get the gig. And what's great about it is Dedra is like, yeah, thanks. Get out of our way. We don't care about you. Which just shows how arrogant the Empire is.
If anything, this is further emboldened Cyril to continue down the path of trying to find Cassian. I think more than anything,
Kevin, I don't know that I agree with that.
I think the smile at the end is him saying, "Oh, you'll be back." I think he knows.
I think it's part of that.
I think you're right. I think
he's
you're
in on
right
it.
about that.
And when Cassian breaks out of prison and it's going to be on the holo feeds or whatever will happen, Dedra will come back and then they'll have a forced alliance. But I don't think Dedra wants anything to do with him because she's above him. Like, you know what I mean?
I think she doesn't want Cyril to have anything official with Cyril in the ISB. I think Dedra would probably keep tabs on what he's doing, but doesn't want him in the fold in an official capacity because at the end of the day, she would still want full credit for capturing Cassian, and Cyril might do it, but she will use Cyril to her own benefit. Right. And then burn Cyril in the end, and then Cyril's just like, wait a minute, I believed in this thing and it doesn't care about me?
Yeah. Well, okay, so, Kevin, I think you're right that I think the smile says like, oh, you're going to come back to me, you're going to need me. But I don't think it shows an arrogance on the ISB part. I think it shows an arrogance on Cyril's part, or a misguided, right?
Yeah, Cyril is a bit arrogant.
Because he is not a good, he was a good deputy inspector. He will not make a good ISB agent.
We don't know.
right?
He'll look good in his uniform. He'll get it like custom tailored. He'll look hot.
He will be.
Did I say hot? I meant like sharp.
You did.
He'll look sharper than a razor blade dressed up in a black
tuxedo. You like
tuxedo.
what you like.
Kevin, we don't judge here. We're a very open podcast. We're open to everyone. I know it's,
I just quoted a Shaq rap lyric.
Okay, that's where we drop the line. Actually.
Sharper than a razor blade dressed up in a black tuxedo. That's
hey, do you guys want to go to
Cyril
Shaq-a-ween?
I'm going Friday, actually.
DJ Diesel?
Yeah, I'm going Friday. Yeah, actually, yeah.
I don't even know what that is.
Shacktober?
Shacktober, that's what it is.
Yeah. Shacktober? Yeah, I'm going Friday with a bunch of my roommates.
Why?
Because why not?
All right, fair point.
Yeah. All right, so what else you got on this on Cyril and kind of his desperation towards Dedra?
I still love his character, but I don't know. There's not a lot. I mean, I think it's a big desperation play. I think it's so interesting that he's like, I was a good deputy director or deputy detective,
deputy inspector.
Deputy inspector. Right, I was good. You need.
He says that out of frustration too.
Yeah,
like,
it's so.
Woe is me. This should have never happened to me. I did my job.
Yeah.
Everyone else is lax. Look at the report. Blevin didn't put all the stuff in there, right? And he's like, you need me. I'm a good loyal servant to the Empire. Why don't you want me? Basically, he's Will Smith in one scene. He's like, why don't you love me, man?
Because everyone.
Man, my reference was way off. I was going to be like, he's like, no one will understand this unless you watch this movie. But in Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Out of the Shadows, when Stephen Amell's character, Casey Jones, says, oh, one day I'm going to be a detective, you'll see. And it's just so cringeworthy. Well, it's like, wow, I want to be a detective one day. Wow.
I'll tell you what it is. I think Dedra realizes he's more trouble than he's worth.
Yeah.
Right? If you bring him in on the inside, he's
a by the books guy, and Dedra has not really been by the books.
Right,
she's looking to skirt corners where she can.
But at the same time, he would do to Dedra what Dedra did to Blevin, right? Ultimately,
poor Blevin.
Ultimately, if he were brought into the ISB, he would undermine her in some way with good intention. I mean, good intention for the bad guys, I guess. I don't know. Who roots for Imperials, anyways?
Good callback. I was going to ask, are you still rooting for Dedra? Because I feel like it's hard to root for her after the end.
I'm rooting for Dedra against the other members of the ISB because she is our not protagonist, not antagonist. She's our point of view for that scenario.
Sure.
Right?
It's weird because you approach it with, look, Imperials, y'all are a bunch of dummies, but you have this one smart cookie. Why don't you listen to her? Oh, wait a minute. That goes against the Rebel Alliance, which I'm a fan of. I want the Rebels to win, but I also want Dedra to get one over on her Imperial peers. But if she does that means she's doing a good job, which means takes down the Rebels. But I don't like that because I want the Rebel Alliance to win. So what Dedra is really the most interesting character to me to follow based upon how my emotions are affected on her success or failures within the Imperial ranks and how that applies to whether or not our rebel friends succeed or not. And I'm just like very torn.
Love to do this. You know me, I'm always the one asking about their fates way early. What is the final fate of Dedra? Is she going to get choked out by Vader?
No, I think...
or Snoke? Snoke!
No, I think that she is going to leave the ISB after... I think Partagaz is going to cut her loose, right? I think she's going to get into trouble. Partagaz is going to cut her loose. And then she's going to go live on Canobite as a...
wow, that turned left turn.
She's in it. What are those horses called?
Fathiers.
Fathier racer. She's gonna be a
Fathier
Fathier
jockey.
Yeah.
Schmo down, buddy.
So I think with Dedra, and you saw this in the council meeting where Yularen was back, seemingly annoyed to a certain degree, at least in Dedra's eyes, and she's giving this report on Cassian of like, we can find Cassian, then we can find access, which is AKA Luthen, right? And then we can figure out where all these rebel cells are at. And Prendergast even backs her up to Yularen, which I think goes to your point that Dedra's gonna be building up all this equity with Prendergast, and then something's gonna happen where Prendergast will be like, I gotta cut you loose because you did this, and now I can't be associated with this.
For some reason, something about it makes me think that she's not gonna like die or get imprisoned in the end. But I don't think that.
I think she will.
There's this weird thing, right? Where by the time of, in my head, by the time of A New Hope, all of the good Imperials, and by good I don't mean morally good, I mean like competent Imperials, have to be gone, because that's one of the big recurring things by the time during the Galactic Civil War is there are no competent Imperials left. Tarkin is the last competent Imperial.
Perhaps. I think everyone tries to, especially with this show, everyone's like, okay, you probably got to die. You probably got to die.
Yeah, I don't. What I'm trying to say
is that like I think there are gonna be characters in this show that aren't gonna give you a definitive. Here's what happened to them. Right. I mean, I think Dedra is probably going to end up being one of them. She probably just turns into a career Imperial and goes down with the Empire, and that's it.
Well, it'll be interesting if at the end of Rogue One, you could always just be like, you could be like, all right, Dedra, thanks for your service. We're going to assign you. You're going to be on the Death Star for its inaugural voyage. So then you'll know that obviously that she'll be dead on the Death Star.
Here's the thing, right? It's a big galaxy, and my best point of reference for this is the novel Twilight Company.
Okay.
It's a ton of characters you've never fucking heard of. And I remember when Rogue One first came out and everyone's like, well, none of these characters could survive because whatever. Or people saying like, well, Hera can't survive because we don't see her in the movies. Okay. The character wasn't invented yet. That's why they're not in the movies.
Yeah.
Right?
Exactly.
Like, suspend your disbelief.
I gotta get the special edition guy.
Suspend your disbelief for one fucking minute. They don't have to die because we don't see them in the movies. Guess what? We only see one ISB agent in the movie. It's Wolf Yularen.
Can I speak about Wolf Yularen too?
When he's reading Wolfie.
When he's reading the shopping list. It reminded me.
Who's that, Wolfie? Is that Wolfie back there? Hey, look at Wolfie.
Yularen's reading.
Your dog is dead.
I don't understand.
It's Terminator. That's a. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah. Yeah, it's Wolfie and then Wolfie. Max. He's like, the real dog's name is Max, but he says Wolfie, and he's like, your parents are dead. Very good reference.
Your foster parents are dead.
I was talking about how Yularen is reading off the list of all the things. It reminded me of from my daughter's 2-year birthday party when I was reading the list of things we were buying. And I was saying the same thing. I was like, well, why are we getting this many balloons? We only need half the number of balloons. Dear God, how many cakes do we need? Because he was like, what do you need, like a security detail and this? It's like, it reminded me of when with my daughter's second birthday party, we were like, what is this, man? Why are we getting this? But it ended up being a success.
Dedra is asking for all this stuff, and your alarm's like, what's quite a wish list? And she says,
he says this is expensive, and she says it's cheaper than the price of the stolen technology.
Yeah, he says it's a large investment. And she
that's
replies,
what
it's a fraction of the price of of lost technology. And
that's what my wife said, ironically, when I was talking about my child's birthday party.
And I think Yularen or Dedra is like, I kind of went at him a little too hard with that line, and Prendergast looks over and is like, yeah. All right. Yeah, you are being assertive.
You assert yourself.
Yeah, you assert yourself, and like he's having more pride in Dedra at this point in time.
Well, it's a little bit of the ISB. There's at least one or two other female
agents.
Yeah. But it's a boys' club, right? And definitely you can see in the way that Dedra is treated in the first couple episodes that we see her.
Yeah.
That. We don't know what her background was, but something about her background, Prendergast makes some somewhat disparaging comments about, because he says we need more, we did need a few agents like you, something along those lines in the first or second episode we have. Dedra.
Yeah.
At the time there was kind of this theory that was about her gender. I don't think it was. I think from a theming perspective, from a writing perspective, it was about gender, but from a story perspective and a lore perspective, that read to me like something about her background, wherever she came from, right? Like maybe she was a stormtrooper captain or something weird that's out of place, right? But you could see the way she's treated, whether because of her gender or because of whatever her background is. You could see that a lot of people don't respect her, also because she's one of the newer faces there. So it's good to see her gaining that respect, and Partagaz sort of almost slowly treating her like his second, you know? That's kind of what I got out of that whole exchange.
Interesting. Kev, any more thoughts on Dedra and the ISB before we move on to her and Ferrix?
I'm wondering how many people out there were rooting for her and kind of then rooting against her, but that kind of goes into her later scenes, so I can put a pin on that.
The end of this episode changes that whole perspective.
Oh yeah, it's and you go, oh,
and then I'm really rooting for her because
of course.
So let's talk about Mon Mothma and all these parties she's having. Another cocktail party.
Did you see how they make these cocktails? If you want to have them with the color and the flavor, they pour a worm in it, and the worm dissolves in the drink. And so when Mon is asked, "Do you want one?" She's like, "No." It's almost like going to show like she's saving a worm's life. But
it's like
basically, they pour the worm in the water, and the worm dissolves, and that's what gives the water its
like
booze.
The tequila with the scorpion at the bottom.
Except the scorpion gets poured in. And
Chandrilan custom, right?
Yeah.
So we have another party.
Chandru is from Chandrilia, actually.
Chandra.
Yeah, I'll confirm.
Chandrilia, right?
I'll confirm.
Sound off in the comments, Chandra.
Yeah, Chandra, if that's where.
Chandrilia, but yeah, the worm. In order to make boozy drinks, they pour the worm in and it dissolves. I thought that was
I think
cute,
the drink is
cool
still.
Little thing.
To be fair, I think the drink is boozy without the worm, but
it's just adding. Yeah, once that, if you want to add a lime to your Corona.
Yeah.
Are you a lime guy?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
You don't have.
One time I was at a bar with my friends, and he was putting the lime in the Corona, and one little piece of lime shot across the bar and landed in a girl's eye.
Whoa.
And the girl's boyfriend wanted to fight my friend, and our literal argument was, do you think he was aiming for you? Because if that's what you think, you don't want to fight this guy because he's probably really good at fighting too. It was the craziest thing.
Wow,
that's like fucking.
It's like I have the stat systems and 12 systems.
Colin Farrell and Daredevil.
Yeah, it was crazy. And if there was a slow motion shot, it was just a perfect shot. I guess got right in her eye, and it's like, so now I'm the guy that like puts this thing in, and then I don't want to ever have that happen to me. Lest we get in a fight about it. But yeah, you're a lineman guy, so that's what the worms are.
You heard it here first. Kevin is too much of a coward to get into a fight. I
don't know what I would do.
Yeah, so we also get Tay Kolma again.
Tay Kolma, and this
the tension between Perrin and Tay.
Oh, it was great. So
do you think Perrin thinks there's an affair going on?
No,
at this point?
I think I'm gonna flip it on its head here.
Okay.
I think Perrin and Tay are former lovers.
It's possible.
Maybe you.
I doubt it because
jealousy looks.
So we speculated early about the arranged marriage, right?
Right.
So we found
out... They
didn't
quite say it was arranged, but it was a young marriage. They didn't definitively say it was arranged, but when you get married at 15, it does seem like it probably goes that way.
Yeah.
It reminds me of House of the Dragon.
Oh, yeah, when you patrol this,
well, no, but specifically Rhaenyra...
Rhaenys?
Nope, Rhaenys is the older cousin.
Right. You're talking about her kids, though?
Rhaenyra... What's the main character's fucking name?
Rhaenyra. Am
I saying it? I feel like I'm saying it wrong. Maybe it's just because I hear myself. Rhaenyra and her partner, gentleman whose name I can't remember.
Start with an L.
Laenor Velaryon.
Yeah. Although not the father.
Right. It was sure, but it's kind of the same thing, right? Where like they're together, they care about each other.
Yeah, they had an arrangement.
They're not in love.
Right. They had an arrangement.
Mon and Perrin definitely cares about Mon. You can see that in the way he interacts. He's not like... It's not this overt, like, I hate you or any of that.
Yeah.
It's... They don't mesh properly, but he definitely cares about
their social circles certainly do not mesh.
No, but you could see when the two of them are putting on a face for other people, they're perfectly fine.
They have that in common.
Right? Because otherwise, why would Perrin give a shit? Other than, he needs clearly Mon's the one making the money, but like I don't know. It doesn't seem to me like Perrin's a bad guy necessarily. He's just an ignorant guy. You know,
sure.
And they've been together for so long, and there's you know they got together young, and it was sort of it definitely seems like an arranged marriage to me.
A Chandrilan custom, yeah. So this whole, first of all, let's talk about the burn that Perrin puts on, or that Tay puts on Perrin.
Oh, you have to
and Perrin goes, well, good luck feeding the galaxy. I'm off to feed myself. And then Tay goes, charity begins at home.
Yeah.
And it was just, and there was no retort. Perrin turns around and is like, you might have got me on that one. I get it. And Mon and Tay walk off and start having their conversation about the banking and how the Imperials are putting auditors at the bank, so it's making it more difficult, perhaps impossible, to move money. And so Mon Mothma is worried about all of that. And then this just is really weird. I don't understand it right now. Maybe it will be clear in future episodes. But Lita, the daughter, just happens to appear and is like, oh, yeah, we've met. And the Mon's like, oh, hey, your dad's looking for you. And then Lita says, you're around awful a lot more these days.
Right.
And Tay is just like, yeah, I'm getting used to, liking to come to Coruscant. And to me, and then, okay, I want to fast forward.
There's another scene.
I want to fast forward all the way to when Mon goes back over to Perrin and he's talking to two other people. Mm-hmm. And she goes, hey, have you seen Perrin or Tay? I keep saying, again, the names flopped around. So she goes to Perrin and asks, have you seen Tay? And he goes, oh, he left. He said he had an early morning, next morning. And I'm putting Lita coming over, I'm putting that remark from Perrin, and also the first time Tay was there and Lita goes to talks to Mon while Tay's there. I think Perrin sends Lita over, to be excused from the party. But I think, and this is a wild, this is even more wild than a stupid Snoke theory, Kevin.
You're not going to fit this in one of your shorts, by the way, because you're taking a while to get there.
Don't worry about it.
Good luck. I want to either start over. I can't wait to see this short.
Don't worry about it. Right. Don't worry about it. Okay. I have a weird feeling that Tay Kolma might be dead because Perrin,
because Lita offed her.
No, I think Perrin had Tay killed because he feels like possibly that Mon and Tay are having an affair, and Perrin doesn't like that.
Well, okay,
and so he's just like, get rid of Tay.
And Lita. Okay, there's something else. There's another shot of Lita, right introing.
You think Lita, the daughter, is killing Tay?
No, I didn't say that.
No, but there's something going on. Someone needs to give Lita like a friend or some social skills, because the shot you're talking about where Mon goes up to Perrin, the establishing shot for that little interaction, they show Perrin and Mon and the group they're talking to on the other side of like this banquet table, and you see Lita go up to the banquet table, grab a cookie, nibble on the cookie, and then run off screen, as if the actress like went over to get a cookie because she knew there were cookies on that table, and then
I did not see this. I'm going to look it up right now.
And then realized she was in shot.
So we went and looked at that scene because I had to know. And yeah, it is a really weird, random scene with Lita just kind of like...
She just looks shifty. She looks... Yeah. Okay, I'll tell you what it...
I think you guys are looking into it.
I think it's
awkward
Sean
background acting.
I'm not looking into it very deeply, but if you want me to, I can. Right? So let's set it up
as... Snoke.
I don't know that anyone said that we wanted you to.
No, I heard Brandon. Brandon wants to hear what I have to say.
Brandon?
Damn it, Brandon!
Brandon, if you do not want him to talk about it, say something.
Brandon, if you want to hear about it, give me that big dopey smile.
He's not taking any more questions right now.
All right. So no, because there's this sort of, they have this image to portray, right? I'm wondering if something about it is like parents telling her to like make sure she like presents herself in a very ladylike fashion, so she's like sneaking food from the banquet table, right? Like, so there is something to read into it there, but. There's just something so shifty about her in that scene.
Yeah,
she does that like.
Well, I'm not talking about that scene, but there was something really weird about that interaction when she goes up to Mon Mothma and Tay, because it just seemed like kid, what are you doing around here?
And
like,
maybe-
you
maybe-
don't want to be here.
Maybe
Why are
Perrin
you-"
sends her
And
over
that's what I'm
to kind of
thinking.
break it
Perrin
up.
might
But she's
send her over there.
she's an unknowing participant.
Yeah,
Well, hold on. But
Like
if we
being
go
used as a
back,
pawn.
if we go back to the first time we see Lita,
Mm-hmm.
there is that aspect of Mon was going to take her to school, and she's like, "Don't you have somewhere to be?" Like,
Yeah, she's
Again,
definitely with her dad
at
more.
the
Yeah, she's
time-
more in last
at the
step with her
time we
father,
thought it about. We talked about like absentee mother, but it might even be like they're hiding something. Right? I don't know. Something seems off.
I don't know.
But
Yeah.
I don't think Perrin. I don't think Perrin's a bad guy. I just think he's ignorant. Right?
It's possible. Yeah, it
You know?
could be.
And I could be wrong. He could be, reporting on Mon for, him and Sly could be, on the sly and talking about. Hey.
An interesting part too, also in this cocktail party is, Mon Mothma talks about how she needs to get votes to stall this vote on Palpatine's, overreach, basically. And in this kind of like this circle of senators that Mon's part of, one of the senators, they all kind of chime in and call Palpatine frustrating, easily provoked, overreactive, but says what he means.
Mm-hmm.
And so,
You're forgetting the big quote there too. He says, "Isn't the Emperor's primary charge to protect us all?"
And then
And
someone
in
says,
history,
what is protection? Surveillance without limit.
But see,
Yeah.
in history, the dictators, the good dictators, convince their people that they are absolutely needed for their protection. So I just thought that was a very cool,
yeah, and they go on to say,
real world
yeah,
parallel.
one of them goes on to say protection looks like surveillance and prosecution without limit. And then the senator next to him goes, if you're doing nothing wrong, what is there to fear? And Mon Mothma goes, I fear your definition. I'm fearing your definition of wrong.
The original cut of this episode, actually, when he's like, "What is there to fear if you've done nothing?"
There we
It
go.
cuts to Cassian in prison saying, "I didn't do anything. I was a tourist."
Right.
That was the original.
Yeah, that would be the Family
Yeah,
Guy edit. The Family Guy edit would do that.
I love him
Very
just
much.
yelling on repeat, "I'm a tourist" for like 3 days straight.
Yeah, I don't think we name our episodes, do we? Because that would have been a good episode name. I'm a tourist.
Yeah, it's an interesting because everything that is kind of brought up is how Vader, when Anakin is like talking about, I've brought peace, liberty, and freedom to my new empire.
Your new empire.
that whole exchange, this whole idea that the empire is founded on bringing peace to the galaxy. I mean, it does work. You have to remember what we're seeing from an audience is not necessarily what the average Imperial citizen is seeing, right?
And I can give you real world comparisons to that. My wife is Russian and obviously is not a big supporter of what's going on with their leadership, but she loves being her country and stuff, and her heart aches for it. But in a very real world setting, there are people that live in her country right now that are literally cut off from the news. All they see are what's on Russian national
State-run,
television.
yeah.
And that state-run television, let me tell you, is full of propaganda. And so there's the websites where you can see interviews of Russians that are just clueless, that think that the war is going on to like denazify Ukraine, and not to get too gnarly in real world with it. It really does bring to light that there must be people out there, and people at this dinner party were very supportive of the empire because they don't know any better. They're only fed what they are fed.
Okay.
And how scary must that rebellion be? Those rebels that destroyed Aldhani, that could be thought of as a terrorist group to some people.
I mean, you hear Perrin
Right.
talk about it, you hear Edie talk about it like that. So, yeah, definitely applicable.
I'm going to bring up a minor point from Tales from the Jedi, because it kind of feeds into this, right? The senator's son in episode 2, he says, I had no idea any of this had happened. I never leave the capital, and when I do, it's only to go to Coruscant. So many of these senators and so many of these people in power have never experienced what it's like to live under the conditions of the Empire.
Yeah.
And the ones that have are the ones perpetrating the atrocities, right?
Absolutely.
The ones that have are the ones that are enforcing these laws and who are the bad guys, right? None of the good guys or even neutral people, right? Perrin's never been to, any of these random outer rim planets. They don't that's what I mean about ignorance, right? Like it goes back to 1984, right? Ignorance is strength. So much of the complacency of the Empire and the regular people in the Empire is due to the fact that they just haven't been exposed to how the galaxy at large is living.
Yeah, and not only that, but the Empire almost, I think, in a way, promotes to not go beyond, right?
Yeah.
Just stay in here in the circle.
Yeah, stay in
your lane, basically, and you'll be fine. Don't worry about anything.
Well, and that's where Luthen's goal comes in of making sure people see.
Exactly.
Right? It all ties in, and I think it's really interesting that we got that line in. I know you haven't watched Tales from the Jedi yet, but I think it's so interesting that Tales from the Jedi illustrated that so well during the time of the Republic. Just on that one or two lines from that character, without even it being the Empire, right? This is during the time of the Republic.
It's a problem that transcends.
Yeah, it's just a problem
worlds.
It's a problem of government and power and a class structure, right? You don't really know how those in a social tier below you, perceptively below you. No one's actually below anyone. But you don't really know how those less fortunate are actually living, right? You don't know how other people, what they're going through. And that's kind of the problem with these senators is that most of these senators are joining because they want to make a difference. They want to do good. Same's true for our fucking system too. They have good intentions when they start, and then they're in it for so long that they've completely lost the plot and lose sight of what's true. You know?
Yeah. So this whole dinner party, and which also I was wondering when would this emergency session happen, and so it seems like, according to this conversation at least, because Mon's trying to drum up votes to stall the vote, or to stall his overreach, I guess. So that session seems to not have happened yet, even though they've already implemented the public order resentencing directive.
Well, it's probably like an executive power.
There might be
thing,
like a
right?
more, there might be another type of,
or it could be a matter of like they have the power to enact it, and then have 90 days or whatever for the Senate to approve it.
Something.
Our legislative system is.
The point is, I don't think the Senate hasn't had that emergency session yet, which means we still have an opportunity to see Palpatine.
Oh, come on.
And we will. I'm almost more convinced we're going to see this guy.
Right, look,
Amen.
if you need to see Sheevan so much, why don't you just set up a Zoom meeting with him?
Maybe I will.
All right, good.
Maybe I will. I'll do it right now.
I don't want to see.
He's like talking like, and then you're like, Palps, you're on mute. You got to unmute it. You got to unmute it on the Zoom.
All right. So, any other thoughts on this Mon Mothma cocktail party? Anything that you saw that stuck out to you, or you thought, oh well, that's interesting? No.
I like the scene where they're like overlook. She's like, oh, I should really enjoy the view more, and she walks away. It's from the trailer too. And she walks away with that like fake smile, and it slowly like dissipates into.
That's after the parent. That's after the parent, or she asks him about Tay. But so
yeah. Anyways, regardless,
that's all encompassing.
I love that acting, how she walks away and slowly loses, because she's just basically like, it must be. I think we've all been in situations where we have to like fake that we like everybody, like every day here when I'm with you guys, I have to fake it, I put a smile.
Here's
also why slowly, like it just goes from that smile to like, fuck.
Here's why I also think something may have happened to Tay, because
already, so off camera, it's happened.
So you think it's happened right now?
I think
off camera.
I think we're gonna get into the next episode, and we're gonna be, and Mon's gonna be like trying to get in contact with Tay, and can't find him, and is gonna be really worried. And now she definitely has to go back to Luthen.
You think Masamita was in the bathroom, and when Tay went in there,
game was swirly.
I feel like Tay's gonna get off
with his horns.
Tay's gonna get off his international flight and have like 18 missed calls from Mon and be like, "Dude, this chick's tripping, dude. I had it on airplane mode."
Well, because like stage 4 clinger much?
Yeah, come on, man. I was
because he's also talking about how there's Imperial auditors now at the bank, and so if they get any bit suspicious of Tay doing anything, where do you think he's going right away?
Okay, I have one other note about the dinner party, but I'm going to jump to that right there, right? Because we've started to see the Imperials tightening their grip, right? So Bix has been able to send. This is jumping ahead. Bix has been able to send messages unimpeded to Luthen for God knows how long.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, because of the public ordinance, they
and Dedra's wanting,
right, but that's part of the right. But that's part of the public ordinance. All of a sudden, because of that.
Well, no, I think that's different because that's the resentencing directive. That doesn't fall. That wouldn't give Dedra the capability to circumvent certain avenues.
Well,
because the resentencing applies to all inmates.
Sure, but it's two parts of the same thing, right?
I mean, yeah.
Because it all has to do with the Empire tightening their grip.
It's in the bill,
and because what does Wolfie say last episode? It's not a matter of if, it's a matter of how tight we, something.
Tighten our grip.
Yeah, something like that.
So eloquent.
Okay, so yeah, I know, right? I do think it's interesting because this dinner party is sort of a different scenario than the last one we saw.
Yeah.
Because the last one seemed to be put on by Perrin.
Yes.
And this one's put on by Mon. Now, there's two things I want to note, right? When we saw the dinner party before, Mon was not really interacting with Perrin. In this one, Mon is interacting with Perrin. Perrin is making an effort to sort of put some influence to help Mon get the votes she wants, right? The purpose of this dinner party is to get Mon the votes.
Right.
The other thing, they're both wearing the same brooch with like a little chain coming down from it, which was kind of just an interesting little visual note that does sort of show them on more of a unified front here than normal. Like that visual clue is important, right? Like,
that's interesting.
So I don't know. It just I'm still trying to. I guess I'm still trying to figure Perrin's character out. Like, I don't know. I don't know that he's a terrible person. I just think he's fucking ignorant.
Probably. I mean, yeah.
And I think that's the galaxy at large, right? I think the galaxy is widely ignorant to what's going on, especially on places like Coruscant. You
Yeah.
The other affluent planets are all going to be, probably Ossian Prime, and Chandrilla, right? All the affluent planets are ignorant of what's actually going on.
Depending who your senator is, I guess.
Well, no, it doesn't matter who your senator is,
That's
right?
true. That's true, actually. You're right.
Because the senator it's not like the senator is making public broadcasts on their planet, because if they were, the Empire would find out.
They still have the regional governors.
Right.
The regional governors now have direct control of their districts. Fear will keep the other systems in line. Fear of this battle
because they
station.
don't yet have full control of the systems.
Right.
It's an interesting thing in Star Wars, right? Because the senators tend to have a lot more control in Star Wars than they should of their planet itself.
Yeah.
Most of the time, the senator seems to be a position of governance, planet level. Because even on Naboo, when Sheev was in control, he did have a decent amount of say in what happens with Naboo. When in actuality, the Queen and the governor should have those decisions.
Although, I guess depending on your queen, it's kind of like the Queen of England, just kind of like a certain type.
Sure.
Depending, I mean, whatever.
But it is. We do see Padme does serve Jamilia.
That's right. That's right.
So Padme serves Jamilia,
right.
but it seems like when Sheev is in control, that maybe it's just because Padme's so young that Sheev seems to pull a few more strings with.
Yeah, maybe, perhaps.
Yeah.
So let's get into. We go back to Ferrix, and we see Bix and Brasso and Marva.
Brasso is the man. If I were to buy a action figure from the series, I think I'd buy him. Right.
Go ahead. Well, I think
so.
they're coming out in April. I think I saw.
I think he's just a cool, loyal dude.
I'm adding
happens
Brasso to the list of cool Star Wars characters that I could effectively cosplay. The big right. Right now it's just Brasso and Snap Wexley.
Damn. Okay.
And Malakili.
Yeah. Right. Okay. Cool.
It's a good line.
Bendu. You could do Bendu.
I could do the Bendu.
Yeah. You could do an interesting version of Bendu. That'd be funny. That'd be really funny.
I feel like I could do Wrecker, you know what I mean? Just
absolutely.
I don't know. You're not. I mean,
either that or Salacious Crumb.
You know what? Maybe if we get you some platform boots, you could do Wrecker.
Yeah, probably.
No, he could just be Wrecker when he hasn't fully full grown.
Yeah, I could be Wrecker at like halfway there.
He's Daniel Logan Wrecker.
Yeah, exactly.
Now I want to see young Daniel Logan as Wrecker.
Oh wow. So when we catch up with Marva, she's a little bit hurt under the
Why
weather.
doesn't she just turn the heater on?
And but we find out that she tried to open the floodgate in Rix, the Rix floodgate, whatever, but also trying to see if the tunnel beneath the hotel in which the Imperials have now taken over, if that tunnel's open, and it's like, well, aren't we just a little rebel?
So we have Brasso and Bix's conversation about, well, she's a rebel.
Yeah.
Right? Here's my question.
She says it like she's a rebel.
She says it so dismissively. And so here's my question. Is there a rebellion?
No, it's just her.
On Ferrix? Or has she made up a rebellion?
It's just her. But that's what's like almost the wrong word, adorable, but just so kind of captivating about it, because she's so, it's, like she said, they can't get into her head, and she could walk down the streets now with a smile, and like she's full of hope. And yeah, like she's like looking into tunnels, the rebellion could be there, because maybe she's hoping for a rebellion that's never going to come, because when we find out in the next episode or the next scene with Saw, like everybody's so split up anyway, they're far away from creating an alliance at this point. And so I think it's interesting that like she's very hopeful. She's literally like on the side of hope. Like rebellions are built on hope. Rebellions are built on Marva looking at.
Do you think she says the line?
Ooh, now, well, it's either in the journal or her. Yeah, I mean, someone's got to say it, right?
It's in the journal.
Do you think someone's going to say it, or it's going to be in the journal before the series ends?
It's in the journal.
Ooh, I'm going to throw you a curveball.
Marva's dying words. Rebellions.
I'm going to throw you. I'm going to throw you a wild curveball here. What if
Snoke?
What if Cyril says it?
Come on, okay.
No,
are we just saying stuff for to say stuff now? Wait, what are we doing?
Yeah, that's I'm kind of angry at you.
Wait,
right?
what if Cyril says rebellions are built on hope, and the only way to crush a rebellion is to crush their hope? And Cassian takes the first part of that, and then punches Cyril,
and then says, "I'll take the first part of that sentence, bitch.
Mine now.
You just got hope slapped."
Hopes. Okay, what are we doing?
I don't know. No, but I mean, very interesting dying words. Do you think Marva and Cassian will be reunited again, or do you think he'll find out that she died doing something heroic?
I think
we'll get one. I think we'll get at least one more scene with Cassian and Marva. Yeah, absolutely.
I think Cassian will somehow make it back just before he's going to watch Marva die,
and then Marva will look at her and with a knowing nod say, "Rebellions are built on."
Well, because we're building up.
She wasn't saying hope. She was trying to say home.
Guys, I don't know. I don't
rebellions are built on homes.
Rebellions are built on money. Okay,
that's true.
So
good segue, by the way. If you were going to go into the Luthen
if
part,
I was able to,
speculate. Well, hold on, you motherfucker. Speculate responsibly. But where are most of our characters by the end of this episode?
At the depths. This is the Empire Strikes Back of the season.
In prison.
Most of our characters are on Ferrix.
I mean, like, yeah, I guess.
Because
Cassian saw Luthen,
Sinta,
Mon, Farron,
Perrin.
Okay, sure, yeah. But I'm saying most of our
Palpatine's not there.
not there. Cyril's mom,
not there.
Miss
Cyril's
Fig.
mom. Uncle Harlow's not there.
Snoke's not there.
Uncle Harlow's not there.
Snoke.
I will shut this thing down.
You don't even know how to set it up, so how could you set it down?
You hit stop recording on OBS.
Oh, wait.
All right, you found me out.
It's not recording. It says stopped. Just kidding. That would be funny.
My point is, most of our active players are on Ferrix.
Yeah.
The last 3 episodes of the series have to take place on Ferrix.
Or above.
Right. But
yeah.
But I think the last
It's going to happen above.
I feel like it's going to happen on Mustafar or Exegol with Snoke.
It'll happen on Mustafar.
That's my last Snoke joke.
You know what? You're right.
I promise.
Just taking a cue from Rise of Skywalker, it'll happen on Mustafar, but it won't look like Mustafar,
and we won't tell you.
We'll never mention it's Mustafar.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh man.
No, I do think that the finale is leading to something on Ferrix.
I think that's probably not far off. I think what's interesting about Ferrix though is you can really see how much it has changed now with the Imperial
just what an
presence.
Imperial presence will do.
Yeah, man, it is.
It's not
because what's his name? Pact, I think.
Pac.
The dad. The dad of the
dad that was
his son's name is his son's name is 2. His son's name is 2, and then the dad's Pac. Dad
Kevin?
joke. Sorry,
Kevin,
I'll stop.
Kevin.
I'll be here all week. But yeah, the dad's name is Pock, and that was a cool little side plot. You knew that was happening.
But also it was just further demonstrating the oppression of a fascist regime of this kid asking, "Hey, where's my dad?" And they're not telling him anything. In fact, the only thing they tell him to do is just to shut up, right? And so no one's getting any answers. They're taking people in the night. It most definitely echoes past human history, right?
Sure.
Or current history,
Yeah.
depending where you live. And so I think this whole episode really just demonstrated that throughout, with the prison system, the fascist regimes, the oppression, power overreach, holding on to power, things like that. So there's a lot of applicable lessons and parallels, most especially in this episode. It's done it throughout the series, but I thought this episode most especially was most visceral, I think.
I think the first three and then this one have done the best of showing those parallels and having very clear messaging.
And that's what also makes the show hit so much harder, because you're able to relate to it on a real world level, and so it feels more real and more, and so therefore the stakes feel way more higher because you're able to relate in some way, to what's going on there.
And it kind of is the thing I love about Star Wars television, and
it's not the intros because you skip them.
Jesus.
I think of you now every time. Did you skip the Tales of the Jedi intro, which is literally like 2 seconds? I think of you now every time I see that.
Yes, I
you
did.
You press
Kevin.
the button and you skip it?
No, it doesn't do anything.
It takes more time to skip the intro than to.
Absolutely.
But I think of you now. I think.
I can't. Yeah, I see every intro. I'm like,
I do
Sean,
wish. By the way, I do wish you can deactivate that feature, because if you are a purist and you want to see the whole screen,
right, and then you've got that stupid skip it.
The intro?
It takes you out.
If only I could buy it on.
Fuck! If only I knew. If only I knew what I was talking about our actual conversation here.
Talking about real world applications from Andor to our world.
Yeah, but whatever I was going to say,
stakes.
Whatever I was going
to, it was going to be genius.
Oh,
stakes.
What I love about Star Wars television is it's done. Ooh, steak sounds good.
Yeah, right.
What I love about Star Wars television is it's doing a great job of showing the factions as more than black and white. Not to say that it's not cut and dry, that the Empire is the bad guys and the rebels are the good guys, right? Because that's still cut and dry.
Yeah.
However you slice it, that's still cut and dry. But they're not cartoon bad guys anymore. We're seeing the atrocities. We're seeing what they're doing. We're seeing why these people want to rebel. And so much of it, it's this whole concept of when we were growing up and we had the original trilogy and we had Darth Vader. Darth Vader was a scary-ass motherfucker.
People thought he was robots back in the day too. He thought they literally before Empire thought that Vader was probably a robot.
Sure, right. But my point is,
I mean, the line "he's more a machine now than man" kind of.
And we hear
would have.
But we hear how
that's from Return of the Jedi. I'm saying during Empire or during A New Hope.
Oh,
literally, fans thought like in between.
Well, yeah, he's got
it's a giant robot character,
mechanized voice sounding kind of. So yeah, I got it.
That's not my point, but yes, I agree. But kind of building off that. We knew he was fearsome, but we didn't know why. Rogue One and Rebels and
Clone Wars
and all these things have shown us why Vader is feared and fearsome and why he's such a badass motherfucker. Fallen Order does a great job of that. Obi-Wan does a great job of that, right? Showing this is a fucking killing machine that at one point was a man. Maybe, right? The average public doesn't know that. It's doing the same thing to the Empire, where we're seeing all of these events and atrocities and the buildup of control and the buildup of the Stormtrooper Corps, the buildup of Imperial patrols on world, the strengthening of surveillance and laws and prison sentencing. All of it is building up, and as that builds up, it gives us more of a reason of why the rebels are what the rebels are. The other thing it's done so well, Star Wars TV as a whole and Rogue One have done so well to show that the rebellion is not just what we have on Yavin 4 during A New Hope, right?
Yeah.
Because so many people think of, that's the rebellion. That's the rebel base. No, it's a rebel base. There's hundreds of rebel bases throughout the galaxy.
Rebel cells, yeah.
Rebel cells, some of which don't work with each other, right?
I thought that by the time the New Hope happens, though, that's why they're alliance, that they are finally together.
They
so
are,
the Yavin base is probably one of their last great stands, which just makes that so important.
No.
That kind of takes away, to me anyway, I always thought that on Yavin, like, that's it. If the Death Star destroys Yavin, that destroys the rebellion. They're crushed. You know what I mean?
It
takes away from it if you're like, oh, it's one of 100 other bases.
It definitely decimates.
It's a little bit more complicated than that. The Yavin, from what we have built up in canon right now, the Yavin base is sort of the biggest show of force that the rebels have. They don't have much else able to assemble and go fly a sortie.
If you were to lose Mon Mothma, that's a huge blow for the alliance.
But she's not on
Yavin. That's right.
She leaves?
She's not on Yavin. She leaves.
Oh.
She wasn't cast yet.
Yeah, she's not in.
Yeah. Honestly, that's right. I'm thinking of Rogue One. That's why
she is there.
Yeah, she is there on Rogue One.
But
you know where she is? She's on Niamos partying.
Yeah,
she's getting those Rev Nogs.
She's like, well, why don't we head to...
It's my 2 weeks leave. I know they need me in Yavin. I'm in Niamos.
Yeah, because at the end of before they go fly the Battle of Scarif, all of the Alliance leadership scattered.
That's right.
But my point is the Rebel Alliance is an alliance of systems and planets and groups that are fighting together, right? What we have on Yavin is sort of a central unit. After the Battle of Yavin, we do see the numbers swell. But one of the things I recommend reading Twilight Company. It sets up the rebellion in an interesting light because it's showing it from not a rebel pilot, not a hero. It's showing it from a rebel trooper's perspective.
Interesting.
Cool.
Which is something we don't get because the Echo Base is, when we go to Empire, Echo Base is so much bigger than what they had on Yavin. And by that point, they are scattered to the galaxy. Because you have to think, where did all the ships come from in Return of the Jedi?
Yeah, and they run in their rendezvous point.
Right? That's 6 months after?
Yeah.
Or how long after? Right?
That's a curious question.
So because they talk about the alliance should be Leia talks about the alliance should be assembled by then.
Right. That's what I'm pointing out, right? Like that the alliance is scattered to the winds because it's a big damn galaxy.
And they need to be.
Because otherwise, if you
the Empire could just
it's like why you don't have the president and vice president fly on the same plane.
Right. That's why Palpatine wanted everyone to go to Death Star 2 and I'll finish them off there.
Yeah, Death Star 2. The Death Star 2 is an interesting scenario because it's the full assembly of the rebels and the Empire. Because when they find out that the rebels are making a all-out attack on the Death Star, Palpatine assembles his entire fleet in order to eliminate the rebels, thinking like, well, one fell swoop. But then the issue is all of their top brass is there in one spot. For both sides, so whoever wins the war.
Right? Basically, right.
And then Jakku is the final straw.
All in, I give all in.
I mean, Star Wars history is really, really cool when you go through the timeline and where people are at, and then where they end up being. Which is also, I think, what I do want to say about Melshi, though. I know we haven't really covered the Ferrix stuff yet, but with Melshi, I was just like, man, this dude is going to go from here to help getting the Death Star plans. And I'm like, and I've been thinking about that a lot with Cassian. Every episode, I'm like, it is so fascinating to me to see Cassian go through this journey and what he's going to become.
I said that a couple of weeks ago, right? I was like, it's going from a thief, from being a common thief, to bringing down the Death fucking Star.
Well,
as your last act.
Have you noticed in every situation Cassian's been in, there's been someone with rebel views, with the mettle of a rebellion soldier, right? Like you had right now you have Melshi. He first meets Luthen, Mavra to an extent. I can't remember his name. My sweet boy who gets crushed.
Nemik.
Oh, Nemik, yeah.
Right. So every situation Cassian's been in, he's had someone to sort of steal his nerves. I'm wondering if next episode we're going to get some lines from Melshi.
Yeah, that'd be interesting.
Stimulating rebellion, because that's
I think it's that other guy Taga who's doing the sign language.
Sure, it
might be him.
It could be both
but
of them.
Melshi too. Yeah,
what's cool? It's like a Voltron. It's like Voltron. All these little pieces, all these people putting them together to create the final Cassian we see.
Yeah, I kind of feel like during the prison riot, like Melshi and Cassian are going to end up going their separate ways, but then we'll find each other back in season 2 and be like, oh yeah, I remember this. I can vouch for this guy. We were in jail.
I kind of hope that they're going to break out together.
I think they're going to break out together, but then go their separate ways. Because Cassian.
Oh yeah, to an extent, yeah.
Because Cassian's going to be like, I got to get the hell out of here, or he might be changed. I don't know.
I think he's getting there. We've got to have a resolution on that by like the second to last episode or the last episode. We got to have him sort of be.
Episode 10 is going to tell us a lot about where his mindset is at. So
how many episodes? Is it 12 episodes?
12, yeah. So we got 2 more to finish off this arc. We just started this arc. And then,
No, we have one more.
We have one more for this arc, and then we have 3 more.
This is episode 8.
It was, or I'll pull it up. Because you were talking about.
This is episode 8.
No, remember you told us 7 stands on its own.
No, I never said
that.
No,
I said that.
Yeah, that was right.
I said that.
No, that was right.
That's so weird. I would think it would be 7, 8, 9.
So was I?
Yeah, you were right.
So,
two
more so we have 2 more episodes of a prison break.
2 more, and then the last arc is 2 episodes.
So we have
the last 2 are its own little arc.
Everyone said.
Why would we know all that?
I didn't think that was correct. And I was saying, well, we'll find out next week.
Okay.
But yeah, this is the start of.
So we're going to be in prison for another 2 episodes.
I mean, last week.
Cool.
At least one more. At least one more.
While I said that last week, I will say this week, last episode feels like part of this arc.
Yeah, I figured it would be 3 episode arc,
but I mean,
and then
it
we
does
have 3
feel
more for
of
the
like
final.
That feels much more of a setup of like, here's where everyone's at now, and
Setting
now
up for the
we're
galaxy at
launching into the arc.
And that's what I said.
Don't they know about trilogies?
That's what I said was that episode 7 definitely feels like it's where is everyone in the galaxy right now, right?
So let's take us. Anything else about Ferrix, or should we talk about Saw?
Let's talk about Vel,
Saw
real quick. Vel and Sinta.
Yeah.
So we get Vel and Sinta are on Ferrix trying to hunt down Cassian, and they're stalking Brasso and Bix.
You start seeing the wear of on Vel. I think Vel is wanting to be with Sinta, and I think the weight of this battle. She's realizing Sinta is just all in warlord, obviously because of what happened to her family.
Yeah.
And Vel is a little more like, man, can't we just be together? I think it's wearing down on her, and I think that's gonna inform her decisions moving forward.
I think it's gonna inform her decisions as far as Cassian goes.
Yeah.
As far as like realizing she can't be this heartless killer.
Yeah, she's not Sinta.
Right?
Ooh,
because
I wonder if later on Sinta has a chance to kill Cassian and she tries to save her.
I think
lovers torn.
I absolutely think that's what's going to happen.
Cool.
But it also explains why Sinta was the one to be left behind, right? Because she's the one that's full bore for the cause. She wants to. Sinta's goal.
She's like Clea, but in the field.
I mean, Sinta even makes a comment this episode about how, there is no end to this, right? We're going to die fighting this war.
It's to the death. She said it's to the death.
Epic line.
Yeah. And she tells Vel, look, I told you from the start, it's all about the struggle. Whatever's left after that, we get whatever left after that.
Yeah.
And Vel is just like, I don't want to do that.
Right.
You're right here. Why can't we
Vel's like,
be together right now?
But I just want to kiss.
Yeah. I want to, let's stay in that room around the corner. And Sinta's like,
I will stay in that room around the corner.
I am staked out. What are you talking about?
You go somewhere else. I'm going to go stay in that room.
He's focused. Yeah.
So it's going to be really interesting to see Vel and Sinta's relationship, what else lies ahead for that relationship and what it means for Luthen, Cassian, whoever else, right? That's in their path. What happens on Ferrix,
Well, I think Vel's around as a character for the long haul, and I think Sinta maybe not.
She has a death wish.
Because she has a death wish, and the whole point, I think next season is going to be us seeing the rebel spy network at its height.
Do we know the time jump next season? I know there's a specific.
I think
every
it's
year it jumps ahead every episode or something. It's like this year's 1 year for season 1, and then season 2 it's like every 3 episodes is like another year.
I'm gonna send you a thing.
Yeah, we'll talk about that closer to the
breakdown. Yeah,
we'll do like a.
There's a way where it's laid out.
We'll do like a post-mortem, once the series is done. But okay, let's Luthen. What do you got for Saw and Luthen, Kevin?
Well, I just think that it was interesting. So we're seeing Saw right now. It's before his falling out with Mon in Rebels, and Saw has a little bit of hope in this one. Like he does seem a little more hopeful, but like I love his breakdown of it just goes to show that when you have an alliance full, just because everybody has the same.
Hold on.
Wait, everybody has the same cause that everybody has the same cause. They're fighting for the same cause. Doesn't mean that they're going to have the same views on how to fight it. And I think there's so many different cells, and I think that Saw has his very extreme way of fighting. And Luthen's just like, dude, can you guys all just get along? And he's really desperate for everybody to start coming. He's desperate for two things. He's desperate for the Empire to tighten its grip and be more evil so everybody rallies in the galaxy. And he's just like, Saw, can't you get along with this cell and this cell? And Saw, meanwhile, is like, and he breaks down like, the only thing missed opportunity is when he's like, Saw has somehow at one point questioned about like his reason to fighting. And I just really wanted him to mention his sister. I wanted him to say, I lost my sister.
Well, so
are you here to track me? No, but like, but like he should have mentioned, if he shouldn't. It was a great scene anyway, but like you're just begging for that sister.
I thought for sure his sister would have came up too,
because he's being questioned about his. He's like, I'm in it for my own reasons, dude.
Yeah.
Well, okay, so two things. So Saw is not part of the Alliance. The Alliance,
not at all. He's in partisan right now.
Right, but I'm saying the Alliance is separate from like the other rebel.
Well, there is no
groups.
alliance yet.
I mean, technically.
Based on the timeline of Rebels.
Well, yeah, I guess it's not a
there kind
alliance.
of is an alliance.
Yeah.
They just don't know they're an alliance yet.
See, what I was curious about is...
Here's who we haven't seen, is Bail, right?
Yeah.
Because in Rebels, we're seeing the alliance form from a different angle. Because Fulcrum is an agent of the alliance, but an agent of Bail.
Yeah.
More so. Right?
Yeah.
So Bail is building up his own set of rebel cells that Mon Mothma ends up sort of becoming a part of, and that's when it really becomes an alliance. But we do know at the start of Rebels, which is before this, I believe.
Or slightly.
Or right around the same time.
Yeah.
There already is an alliance. There already is an alliance of cells, whether or not they know they're working together. Because Hera and Fulcrum know there's an alliance of cells, and the rest of Phoenix Squadron doesn't know.
But this is before,
yeah. And so
which this take place during?
It's right about the same time.
Yeah. So
I think a little bit before,
what's
but right about the same
interesting
time.
is, there are rebels all over the galaxy, and there's a handful of cells that work together. There's a handful of cells that work together. There's Saw, who doesn't work with anybody else. Right. And so there's like all these different groups. And Luthen, I don't think Luthen has any type of communication or access to what the Ghost Crew is doing and that whole like sect of rebellion going on, right? He's got his own section of rebellion that he's trying to incorporate
into everything,
else. And so I think that's what makes
But I think that will fall
interesting.
I do think that will fall into the Rebel Alliance, the Alliance to Restore the Republic. I do think that we're going to see that fall into that category.
But how much of how great is that acting from Forrest Whitaker in one scene? He probably had one shoot date the whole season, right? And he just steals the show. I wonder if we'll see him again.
And we got two tubes. We got the freaking
2 tubes.
We got the Cavernace paint job on the X-wing. Like
I saw 2 tubes in the X-wing. I was like, dang, this is
because the partisan X-wings are such a freaking dope paint job. If you go play Star Wars Squadrons, it's the Cavernace.
So is that from only the game?
No, it's in Rogue One. It's in Rogue One.
You see them, but they don't make a big deal out of it.
No, they don't make a big deal about it. But in one of the cool things about Squadrons is you can get all the paint jobs for all the fighters.
So that's why,
and one of them is called Cavernaces, and it's the partisan, and it says the cavern fighters of Jedi partisans, right? Whatever. And then the other one that's cool is you can put the Phoenix Squadron paint job on all of the Rebel ships.
But I do. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, that one's cool.
I do believe that Saw, speaking of prisoners, he's a prisoner of his own beliefs right now, and I think that he needs to.
He's a prisoner of his past because his whole problem when he starts rattling off those rebel cells, he mentions they're neo-Republicans. Not like American Republicans, but like the Republic.
Yeah.
And these ones are just separatists, right?
Yeah.
And he's got an issue with both the Republic and the separatists for different reasons.
I just wish he said the separatists killed my sister.
Yeah.
And he should have said the separatists killed my sister when I was being trained by Ahsoka Tano and Anakin Skywalker.
Right. Well, but like the whole thing, right? Like
that's what Filoni would do.
Ahsoka didn't save my sister. The whole thing. I thought she should.
And then Ahsoka would pop into the scene if Filoni was directing this episode.
And
love you, Dave. Love you.
It was so interesting that Luthen's like, anarchy is a privilege, right?
Yeah.
Oh yes,
Because,
line.
because
Phenomenal.
that's absolutely what Saw is.
Yes.
Saw is an anarchist. The other cool thing we get from the partisans is
Luthen goes at Saw, man.
no, absolutely. The other
he gives it to him real good.
the only other because we don't have a whole lot of perspective on the partisans. We see them a little bit in Rogue One. We see them a little bit in Rebels. We see them
Were
a little.
they covered in the book about Iden Verso?
I was going to say the other.
I read that book.
The other place we see them is Inferno Squadron.
That's
when Iden
great
Versio,
book. I read that before the game came out. I read it, and it made the game experience so much
It's
better.
so
I
great.
gotta replay that actually.
Oh, I love that game. That
That's
game
There's
is
a cool novel though that covers
Yeah.
like the partisans and
yeah.
stuff.
And Twilight Company's the Battlefront 1 novel.
Oh, cool.
So that's the one that I keep preaching today.
I was listening to the Saving Private Ryan soundtrack on the way here, and it's like I really want a war movie based. Like we're getting like
Rogue
spy
One?
movie.
We thought
Rogue One's not really a war movie.
We thought
Like,
Rogue One
we're
was
talking
going
about
to be
in the trenches with
Right.
following
And
one
that's-
company,
and that's sort of how they sold Rogue One,
but it really wasn't.
right?
It was
Because they
more
were
of a-
showing the Battle of Scarif
like that, yeah.
pre-reshoot.
Pre-Tony.
Imagine like in Solo, a Star Wars story, that Mimban, right? The battle is really cool
Yeah.
visually. If you were just with a company the whole movie,
I still
that's
love,
a ballsy
I
movie.
will never be able to.
Or my dream, de-age Anakin and Ewan McGregor and do a gritty Clone Wars movie where they're on a mission and they're dug in with a clone troopers.
I want. You were talking about Labyrinth before we shot. You were talking about Labyrinth of Evil.
Yeah.
The battle. I remember the battle scenes in Labyrinth of Evil being great.
Do we want to wrap up the episode and then we can get into what we want to see?
Sure.
So
Sure.
we end. How do we end this episode? What was the last shot?
It's them.
I don't
It's
remember.
them building the Death Star parts with Snoke.
Okay, hold on.
But it is, and then it's one of those classic in the middle of a story.
yeah. How
fade
did
outs.
you like the?
I don't. I remember.
The original cut of this had "Don't Stop
Here we
Believing"
go.
playing, and it cuts out to black. Yeah, again, I get
It's
it.
just a small town girl.
I get it.
building up
It's
some
up to interpretation, you're right.
parts.
But I do like that you don't know, and I think it's just an example of what you guys were saying earlier. It doesn't matter what they're doing or who wins first place or last place. You're going to get flavor in your tube or you're not. Like, at the end of the day, it doesn't matter. He's stuck in that world right now, and it's reminding you, like, he's back there in his hopeless state. And where are we going to go from here?
It really has zapped any type of hope.
Pun
from
intended?
Cassian, any.
Pun intended, zapped?
I guess.
Yeah. Hope.
Yeah.
Yeah, you used two puns
Oh my
there
gosh.
from the episode.
It's really just sucked all the life out of Cassian. And you can just see him. He is just so resigned to the fact that I'm here for 6 years.
I don't know. I do want to point out that's the most.
That's the most defeated we've seen Cassian.
You're right, but it was also the most like active we've seen him. Like,
I mean, yeah,
in the
he has
last
no
couple
choice.
episodes, he's just kind of been like, yeah.
Like when they were the warning for the red light was gonna come on, he's still standing.
and
I'm
he's
like,
still-
bro,
I'm like,
move to the left.
Everyone told you.
Like, you got 30 seconds, guy.
Yeah.
Get over there.
It doesn't, for me,
You're gonna die.
For me, stuff like that doesn't create joy. Because the whole thing is they're trying to create like this sort of sense of anxiety, whatever. It doesn't create a sense of anxiety for me. It just makes me think, why'd you make Cassian stupid?
He doesn't seem.
No, I just mean like when he's still standing there when the lights come on.
No. I mean, I don't. He's not stupid. He's like that. I think that further illustrates just how
much in shock he is.
how much in shock he
know.
is, in disbelief, and just
know.
trying to catch up to where he's at. How did I go from taking $200,000, 200,000 credits?
30,000.
No, he took 200,000. That was his cut.
Was it?
That's what he agreed with Luthen. 200,000 out of the 80 million, right? He took the 200,000, went to Niamos, and now he's in jail for 6 years. On top of that, he's in this lockdown facility that just destroys your soul of any
he
idea
doesn't even-
of trying to escape.
And where's his lockbox of credits?
It's like, is that back on his ship, back on Niamos? Like,
It's on. No, it's not in the ship. It's in the bathroom in Yamos.
oh, that's right. He put it up in that thing up there. He's gonna have to go back to Niamos, break into that little hut that he
back
built
to
he rented.
Miami. It's gonna have a wide shot of like the
Little
yachts and
bungalow.
He'll be on a jet ski.
Bienvenidos a Niamos.
We're gonna. You know what we're gonna get? We're gonna get. We're gonna get Cassian going back to his little villa. That chick's gonna still be there, but with Jia Yowza.
Okay.
You know
I don't know why.
You know who Jia Yowza is?
No. I don't know the names. I know what they look like.
He's the guy that says his name. He says Jia Yowza.
The Jedi rock.
Oh, that's his name.
I
think so.
I think he says his own name.
I think that's just a lyric from the song.
No, I think he says his own name.
We have to Wikipedia that. Or fans.
Anyways,
all of our fans who comment and subscribe.
So what also came out this week, or today as we're recording this, was Tales of the Jedi. It looks like Kevin has seen all of them.
All of them. I could
And
not sleep
Sean
last night. That's
has
why I'm tired.
seen
It's Jai Yowza.
Jai Yowza.
Way
Damn,
to
okay,
go.
Jai Yowza.
Isn't he a glit glub or what do you call it? With his
Yeah,
Glub Shitter?
I got it. I learned glub.
Oh,
Shitto.
no. He's got a stupid species name. Yeah, he's a Glub Shitto.
Glub shit.
And how many episodes of Tales of the Jedi have you watched,
I've
Sean?
watched 4.
4. I have watched 0. So next week we will put out our
Brandon, how many did you see?
discussion. Yeah. Wow.
Thank you. I was going to do
Unbelievable stuff this episode, Brandon. It was just the best.
Yeah, I
One of his better episodes.
we're gonna do it. We're gonna do a
kidding, Brandon. We love you.
separate episode for Tales
Yeah.
next week.
So much to unwind. I will just say this: it is an absolute love letter to the prequels, and if you love the prequels, you're gonna love that show. I loved it. Yeah, I don't want to speak too much of it because I don't think enough people will have time to watch that and binge the whole
There's no way.
series. So I think giving it a week is a perfect play. But I think you're in you're in for a treat.
they are.
I'm very happy.
I
with
will
it.
say, like, I got home from work and watched 4 of them
Yeah,
in less than an hour, and then
Okay.
came
yeah, they
here.
go by fast.
So, my takeaway from the 4 I've seen, I don't really like the first episode, but episodes 2 and 4 are freaking bangers of episodes.
oh yeah,
And episode 4 made me love a character that was a glup shitto before today.
Interesting.
Yep.
Like it was literally a nothing character, and it's now like
and it also makes you look at
one of my favorite Jedi Masters.
And in that same episode, you have one of your new favorite Jedi Masters, and you also see one of the movies in a completely different way. Every time you watch that movie now, you'll think of
I would say
episode. 2 of them, but
two of the movies in a different way.
well, actually 3, but you'll see.
I'm looking forward to diving into that series. I think I'm gonna try and do it the next day or two.
10 out of 10 for me. 10 out of 10.
Yeah. Okay.
So-
Okay. Well, I think we're gonna wrap up here for this week.
There was a news thing.
Oh,
we got
actually,
a release date
the
for
Lindelof, Damien Lindelof, and that
Oh yeah,
he's making a movie
writing a Star Wars
with,
movie. That Hollywood Reporter article.
Yeah, let me pull that up.
But yes, there is also a date for it's January 26th.
January 4th.
January 4th for season 2 of the Bad Batch.
January 4th.
Season 3 or 2?
2.
Season 2. Cool little poster that they got with there too. And yeah.
And then the Damien Lindelof Star Wars movie. Justin Britt Gibson also writing the script with Lindelof for a film, potentially bringing back some characters from the 2010s film.
Good for them.
And it's going to take place post Rise of Skywalker.
Did you see the news that fell out after
timeline.
that Disney was like, okay, Lucasfilm, stop.
I
the
did see
follow-up
that too.
story
I
to
did
that.
see that too.
is
Yeah.
that Disney was like, okay, can you stop announcing movies? Because obviously they had the Rogue Squadron movie that never showed up. The Rian Johnson trilogy we're still waiting for. So I think Disney was probably like, yeah, Taika's. And I think they were like, dude, can you stop? Like, just focus right now. Like, once you get something in the
Yeah,
can,
I don't even
talk
know.
about it.
I don't even know
Like,
what movie.
I
I think
don't-
the earliest they said this movie come out was like 2025.
I don't
2025,
want to
yeah.
hear. I don't want to hear anything. I want to hear they're working on movies, but I don't want to hear anything until we like have a cast.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah,
Because once we
the
have
other
a,
thing is the trades are gonna scoop this, and they want to put it out because it's Star Wars, and
Right.
that gets them the clicks. So even if Star Wars themselves aren't making announcements, like
Yeah,
I mean,
that's
that's
right,
what was
you're right.
happening all with season 2 Mandalorian. All these casting news was coming out, but you didn't hear anything from Dave Filoni and Jon Favreau commenting on. They never commented on casting.
No.
It was always the trades putting it out, and yes, it was all true basically. So
Sure,
it might
sure,
be
it was all
another
true,
case, but yeah, to be like Disney announcing a Rogue Squadron movie, the Taika movie, the Rian Johnson trilogy that's still
I think the
hopefully
brass
gonna
at Disney
happen,
was
you
like,
know.
come on, guys, just stop it.
My-
I know you're
my-
excited.
yeah, my issue is once we have a cast, that's when it's kind of too late to turn around. But like, I don't know. I don't want to have.
It's like we didn't know
unless it's
anything about
Batgirl.
Skeleton Crew, right? And they announced it, and
I
they're like,
still don't know anything about Skeleton Crew.
well, we do actually. They talk about it at Celebration a little bit.
Jude Law's in it.
Jude Law, directed by John Watts.
It's going to have a Stranger Things vibe.
Wait, is it Jude Law or Judd Nelson? I always get them,
Jude Law?
I always get them confused.
Oh my god! Holy crap!
I don't really. Know.
Okay, I was like,
That's
those
the
are
Talented Mr. Ripley's a totally different movie with Chuck Nelson in it.
That's pretty- So like we didn't know anything. I didn't know anything about Skeleton Crew, and then they announced it, and we're like, yeah, we have a director, we have our lead,
yeah,
and we got a whole thing, and we're
movie.
shooting it in a couple months. And I'm like, oh, cool. This Damon Lindelof is like,
it's not even written.
This is not even written.
They broke the story down. They had a story meeting.
We're working on a movie.
They did what we basically do before the episode we recorded.
Now,
what are we going to talk about?
Granted, I'm stoked.
I just said Brandon.
Now, Brandon,
who's Grant?
Well, hold on.
Who's Grant?
Brandon and I are stoked about a Lindelof movie from Star Wars.
I bet.
Right?
I absolutely lost.
Brandon, right, Brandon?
Okay, cool.
Yeah, I mean, best show ever.
Best show ever. All right, that's gonna do it for this week's edition of Scoundrels Inc. We'll see you next week.
Follow the socials. Leave us some comments. Tell your friends. Tell your family. Listen, if your grandmother is not listening to our Star Wars podcast, are you even a real fan?
Shout out to my mother who finally found us after the first premiere episode. Then she saw it. She's over here subscribing and listening, and she will agree with my Snoke theory.
Okay.
Send me pictures of your grandmother listening to our podcast.
Scoundrel. I like the sound of that.